This last Facebook.
What's up, y'all? Splendid Radio on PharcydeTV with my co-host Jeremy Scipio and Billy Johnson, man. I gotta start it off with Billy like this, man. He's a good dude, you know what I'm saying? When I met Billy, it was probably my second time out to South by Southwest, and Dr. Dre had the greatest marketing going on for these pills. Did the Beat headphone come first, or did the pill?
I feel like the headphones are already out. You know?
The headphones were out, but the pill, the marketing they had going on with that pill was ridiculous. So basically, Ghostface, Nas had just finished performing, and Ghostface had just come on stage. And Dr. Dre had this little thing off to the side, and basically it was like a doctor's office. Yeah. And they had all these girls in these cute little nurse outfits, and they had these clipboards. So you kind of wanted to know what was up with the cute little nurse and the clipboard. What they was doing was you could stand in line. They didn't let everybody get in the line, and then you gave them your credit card information, and they gave you a Beats pill that you had to turn in like 48 hours. And if you didn't turn in in 48 hours, they charged your credit card for it.
Now that part was
that's a scam. That's a straight scam. Yo.
Yeah. So, so you know, I want to say I had saw Fuzzy in line, and I saw somebody else, and they're like, yo, man, go and get the guys, man. We can get them in here, man. There's a gang of people in here. Dr. Dre, wah. So I went, grabbed Imani, grabbed Brown, and Brown was watching the show. So he really wasn't feeling me tug him and tell him like, yo, man, you need to get over here and watch this or whatever. Because maybe I kind of didn't tell him exactly what was cracking, but I was like, yo. Yo, we got to get over here, man. We got to get in here. So me and Brown, we moving through the line, and whoever had walked us kind of walked us up to the front of it. So we get inside, and Brown is like, man, you pulling me, you tugging me, you're not telling me, you walking me, blah, blah, blah. And me and him, we not getting into it, but we kind of talking about him watching Ghostface. Nas just stepped off a stage, and I grabbed him real quick and moved him over here. So I don't know Billy from Adam, Billy Johnson Jr., the guest. Billy comes over and he interacts in some kind of way, and he introduces himself. He's like, hey, man, I'm Billy Johnson, Yahoo Music, blah, 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 blah. So I'm like, oh, man, that's tight. So I get his number. Everything's cool with me, Brown, Imani. We go in, we get our little Beats pills or whatever. But it was crazy because Billy, usually people that hold Billy's position, which your position with Yahoo was?
Senior editor. Yeah.
Okay. You usually people that are like the senior editor, you gotta pay money and do a whole bunch of other ridiculous shit to just even have a conversation with him. Like you're gonna have to get to his assistant to try to do something and be hell of a popping for him to pay you some attention. But Billy just came over, gave me his card, whatever, whoop-de-whoop. We stayed in cool contact, close contact. When Billy lost his job or Yahoo had transitioned or did whatever, I was managing this artist. I was managing Marvin Dark. And Brown, I managed Brown. We're business partners, but we're also good friends. And he like the way the drunken monkey kung fu way we go about stuff, it always works out. So Brown was like, man, you need to call Billy up and you need to meet with him, man. You need to meet with him. And I'm like, well, meet with him about what? Whatever. He's like, dude, he used to work for Yahoo, man. Go and talk to him, get up with him, whatever. So as I'm thinking about it, I'm like, well, what can I talk to Billy about? Whatever. But still he worked for Yahoo. So he has, as a manager, that's like the greatest gift God could give to you, is somebody who's not on some rah-rah stuff, that like genuinely is just a good person and they're opening themselves up to you. So at the time I was managing Marvin Dark, and I was like, you know what? Perfect. I could have him do Marvin's bio. I could have him do some publicity stuff. He knows, he's got the hookups, he's got the Rolodex, he's got everything. So I go meet with Billy. Great conversation. It was at a brewery. Had a cool brew. And the cool thing about it was, for me, I like to spend money with my people. Like that's just how I get down. I would rather give it to my people and we figure it out than give it to somebody who I don't know, who they may not even have the experience that my people have, and I'm actually funding them learning how to do something, which that's just a horrible feeling when you're paying some money to do it. You don't want to pay regular price to give someone an intern's experience and how to do something, and then they're going to feel like they're even owed more than that. So met with Billy. Since then, Billy has been a part of my life, man. He's been a
brother.
Yeah, man. I turned Billy loose on my pop. You know what I'm saying? Had him write a couple letters and whatnot. So it's a true joy to have Billy on the show tonight, because I feel that he has a lot of knowledge that he can share along his journey. And then as we go later into the podcast, we can get into like some of the advice and some of the things that Billy can tell people about what they're trying to do in the climate that we're dealing. So with all that said, where were you the first time you heard hip hop?
I needed like a fire emoji on that. You know, where's that little, will that work? Can I hit the reaction? You know, put the up there, the little screen. You know, you said where
were you at the first time you heard hip hop?
Oh, okay. So that's a great question. First thing I want to say though is thank you, brother, for having me here. You know, Jeremy, man, it's great to meet you. And I just appreciate the love and respect. It was funny, like hearing you tell the story about South by Southwest. I think that was 2013. But what was really cool about when I left Yahoo is that, you know, I got this call from you. Like the layoff was like on a Wednesday. So I think it was Thursday, and you called and I was like, hey, what's up? And you're like, yo, it's Yahoo something. I was like, oh, I'm not there anymore. And I just remember a pause. This is my recollection. I just remember a pause and you're like, what are you doing Saturday? And I was like, I don't know. You know, I ain't got no jobs. You said, can we meet up on Saturday? And I was like, okay, yeah, what's up? You know, we met, and then you're just like, let's do something. And you actually put some cash. You put some cash in my hands. And I was like, damn. And for me, that was, there's another person that I connected with that week. And these were two affirming moments. To me, it was God saying, I got you, you know, like Yahoo was cool for 18 years, but man, you ain't seen nothing. You haven't seen the finger that I'm about to lay on you. So, you know, that was one of those moments, because I was literally just like in shock, like what's going on? Because I wasn't sure what I was going to do next for my career, because I was trying to figure out, you know, how to pivot that. But that was so critical. So I just want to, you know, give you the props right here, you know, zoom to zoom. I appreciate that. So the first time I heard hip hop, I don't remember the first time that I heard hip hop. I know I was in the 10th, and I was 10 years old when Rapper's Delight came out. That was the first song that I heard. And I just remember being so caught up, you know, in it. And, you know, just because I never heard anything like that. It was funny. One of my favorite memories from that time this was the only time my mom's side of the family, and my dad's side of the family had a big Thanksgiving event together at a hotel. It was like the Holiday Inn or some of all places, which shout out in the song. I grew up in Inglewood, and so both sides of the family was there. Everyone was dressed up, and I just remember all the cousins. You know, we're all sitting around singing the song to Rapper's Delight, and so like it was just instantaneous. I didn't have no cash at that time, but the first record I ever bought actually was the Sequence's "Funk You Up," because by the time I had money to go buy something, Rapper's Delight had already been out, for like 5 or 6 months or whatever. So, the sequence had come out with Funk You Up. And so I would just, I loved it instantly. I was like, man, it was just different. And I was into like Soul Train and dancing and, the funk and Michael Jackson and all that kind of stuff. And it was, there's so many different things happening at the time, but, it had its distinct place. And so I just immediately connected and, it was dope.
Real quick about the sequences. You know what famous female singer was in that?
Oh, I know that. Yeah. And so so Angie, and Angie B, I did something on Greatest. I'm sorry, stop me because I'll start just jumping because I have a story for everything.
Yeah.
Okay, but Angie Stone, I did something on Yahoo every year for Black Music Month. At a certain point, the time I would do something for Black Music Month. And this particular year, I did something on the best soul female groups of all time. And of course, the sequence was in there. And so of the 30, female groups that I chronicled, I had gotten some type of interview with like about 20 of them. And so I got an interview with Angie Stone for that. And I asked her to do a little rap, to do a little part. Cause she never talks about that, like she's so successful as a singer and so gifted, but I was really happy to get her, to do a little part of that, her rap. And I wasn't there, like someone else did the interview for me, but she kind of blushed, like when she was asked, about it and to do, and I felt good. So, but yeah, hip hop, Curtis Blow, like all that stuff, it just felt good. It just felt right. And it was, Grandmaster Flashes, The Message, stuff, all this stuff. It was just so, so dope.
Yeah. A little fun fact. This was actually Funk You Up was the first song released by a female rap group.
Okay. Yeah. Wow.
Period. Like that was, so if you in the City Girls, they have to pay homage to.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And I feel like they never, I never hear anyone mention the sequence. You know what I mean?
Man.
I think I heard Salt and Pepper mention them recently. As they're out talking about the movie, but I just feel like no one ever mentions them. It's like female hip hop started in the mid 80s,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they definitely deserve their props.
Absolutely. Uptown Funk, the Bruno Mars song, it actually samples it. A lot of people don't know.
You know what is that? Is that he really? How did I miss that?
That's part of it. Nah, that's part. No, that's definitely part of it.
I don't know. I don't know how I missed that. Yeah, I feel like Bruno Mars, unless I missed it, I have not seen him give homage to Morris Day. You know what I mean? I have not heard him say the time once.
Yeah.
You don't have a dude come out on stage like Jerome. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's too much. Like he just copied the whole thing, and I've heard him
money doubled.
People.
His money definitely doubled since he's done it. You're absolutely right. That's not cool.
I'm gonna tell you something funny though. I have a close friend who works with Bruno Mars, and he was, because this is before he just came hit after hit after hit after hit after hit after hit. I was like, dude, how does this guy make money and he doesn't put albums out? He was like, dude, his singles do incredible, man.
Yeah.
There's not many artists that can do it, but what he was doing with singles was incredible. And the conversation I had with my guy, he was like, even after all lawsuits were said and done, he still made millions off of the song.
Yeah.
And I was just like, and what that taught me, because similar to my relationship with Billy, similar to my relationship with you, Jeremy, I always like to talk to people and figure out, like, how do they do what they do? Like, it's just very important to me. And even if it doesn't pertain to what I do, maybe I use it for motivation, but I just like to know, like how do people, like when I met Jeremy and I knew that he really didn't have any type of regular job or whatever. And he told me he had moved out here from back east, and he was a comedian. Like that kind of stuff, like I draw off of that energy. Like that's what my battery like pulled. Like, man, you got the nuts to to do your thing? Like, because
I mean, that's huge. Yeah, you think about that, like having the talent and stepping out on faith. Like most people, don't have the courage to do that. Not no disrespect to anyone, but it takes a lot of courage to do that. And faith. Yeah.
Oh
yeah,
man,
if you lived in Cincinnati, you'd leave too. No, I'm kidding. I was joking.
So tell me this, Billy. When did you first realize you had a passion for journalism?
That's kind of interesting. So, I mean, starting in the 8th grade, I never did newspaper in school, but for some reason I was interested in the yearbook. I'm not sure what it was. I was into magazines and stuff, so I didn't have a free elective, to take journalism or to take the yearbook staff until the 11th grade. And but I definitely like that. I like the process of like putting the yearbook together, collecting all the assets and organizing it, and doing the write-ups and stuff like that. I always liked writing, but it really wasn't until college that I considered journalism, and that literally I was going to be a computer programmer. So like I started like 8th grade really taking an interest in programming. My dad got me one of my friends at the end of the street had like an Apple IIe computer, and he was doing little stuff on there, and so we wasn't on the Apple IIe budget, but my dad did give me a Commodore 64, so I was, your little, until I didn't have a disk drive for a minute. So every time you turned it off, I lost all my little programs, but I started off with a tape drive, tape cassette drive, and I got a disk drive, and I was writing my little programs. But so I was going to be a computer programmer, but that math and science, man, I was like, dude, this was ridiculous. I took trigonometry like 3 times, and like my one of my college, at a certain point, like I took a couple computer classes. I did pretty good in those. But just the math and science, it was just like in the way. I took biology with my brother, who's 2 years younger than me. I was on my second time taking biology, and I said, dope, we can take a class together. He said, you come on Tuesdays and I'll come on Thursdays. And I was like, dude, I need to come both days and get a tutor. He's like, well, I'll see you on Tuesdays. You know what I mean? So, but anyhow, just at a certain point, I was like, I had to figure it out. So I pulled out my transcripts and looked at it and said, what am I doing well in, or what am I doing the best in? And anything that had to do with writing or speech, I did better in. So in both high school, AP English, I was struggling, but she liked my writing. She would, have me read some of the stuff in front of the class. In college, they would say like, hey, read your story, Billy. And I'll be like, damn, really me? They're picking me out. So I just started thinking about it. Then I started thinking like, damn, if I, this came much easier than math and science was coming to me, and I did like it. I just never focused on it. So then I went through the catalog. It said, well, dang, which majors have a lot of writing? A lot of writing and speech classes, and I said, okay. So communications, was one, journalism. And then once I got on that track, here come hip hop. I was like, dude, if I can have a job, okay, what else do I love? I was like, I love music. If I could pair writing with music and make a living off of that, I'm like, dude, that would be dope. So I was like, music journalism, you know what I mean? I grew up, my dad was a musician, so music was always in the house. In the 70s, we had everything you could have wanted, and that was a pastime, flipping through the music. That was dope. And then another little thing was when I grew up in Inglewood, but we moved to Rialto my last year of high school. And that was at the time JJ Fad was like still independent. And before they got, picked up by Ruthless. So I saw that whole thing happen, and they're from that same little town. And so I hooked up with them, and I was like, let me write your fan club newsletter. I just wanted to get, I just wanted to get in there, and they let me do that. And I was like, that was a journalistic kind of thing, because I was writing and then I was reading all these magazines, the rap magazines and stuff. And, all that just came back. I was like, yo, this is, I think I got something here. I didn't know what I was doing at all. But I mean, I was in college, studying, how to become a journalist and looking at the magazines and just, trying to figure out like what it would be and asking questions. Anyone that I thought could help me, I would ask them, okay, well, how do I do this? I just literally like just jumped in the deep end. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know if you still got one of those Commodore 64 games, but they're currently worth $300 a pop. So,
Are you serious?
yeah.
Uh, huh. No,
Where'd you
I
go to
don't.
junior high school?
I went to junior high school in Monroe Junior High School in Inglewood. So that was like off of 104th and Crenshaw, basically. Yeah, so we lived walking distance from there. I went to elementary school on the other side of Inglewood. When my family moved, my grandparents moved into our other house. So I still went to, elementary at Beulah Payne. But by the time to go to junior high school, my parents were like, okay, well, you can go to the school here. So it was different. I was starting off fresh there. Some of the kids from Beulah Payne went to Monroe, but it was great. Like just being able to walk to school. And junior high school I had some good times. Junior high was, that awkward, shy kid, bullying and all, there was a lot of that stuff that was whack. But a lot of good memories still, definitely a lot of good memories.
I safely went the punk rock route, man.
Oh, you did?
Went too many black punks, you know.
Okay.
What I'm saying?
Yeah.
With Harbor City, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, the spiked hair and all black with those the shoes with like this.
Yeah, no, we wasn't spiking nothing, man. We in black non-fascist skinhead route, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I ain't see that side of you, dog. I can't.
I know. I'm like trying. I'm with you, Jeremy. I'm like trying to envision it. You got to dig up some pictures. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'll do. I got one with me wearing some creepers with my suspenders with my my boxer. You know.
Okay.
You know, very good picture of the sign of the time of what was going on at the moment. So,
but junior high school was really dope in the sense that, I could walk to school. There was the independence that was different than junior high school. So I just remember being there and, just meeting all the kids, having different teachers and stuff like that. We used to have these sock hops at lunch or after school. I definitely like that because I was definitely big into the music. Back then, Prince and the time, just I really remember loving, all that music at the time. And just met a lot of good kids. And it's funny thanks to Facebook, being able to still be connected with so many people that I went to junior high school was definitely dope.
I'll share a little something with you, man. In about the 7th grade, there was this song out called Atomic Dog by George Clinton. Hey. And I remember there being this dance out called The Freak.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And I had a cousin in Carson. She had a party. And I remember for whatever reason you was able to freak at this party. And that was the most fun. You know what I'm saying? I think a lot of youngsters fell in love, man.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I mentioned the sock hops, in the multi-purpose room, and it was in junior high school, and I'm sure it was that song, and the kids would be out there freaking, and I just remember the teachers, just coming like breaking them up and stuff like that, I mean, that is pretty wild. As much as we talk about how wild kids are today, like if I saw kids, I don't have any kids today don't even dance together, as a couple. But that was definitely, even at the time, I was like, damn,
break them up.
Yeah, exactly. But it was definitely good times. I mean, I was actually pretty shy and ironically was voted the shyest boy, in the 8th grade, which was kind of funny. But, being in LA basically was definitely really cool. I remember for 8th grade graduation, we had our little end of the year luncheon and Kim Fields came, and she was like, the celebrity crush on Facts of Life and stuff like that. So, it was definitely, it's definitely, definitely a lot of good times.
Yeah.
So that's cool. So, when you were in high school, you thought that you were going to be a computer programmer, and then it just kind of all switched up to journalism.
Yeah. So, I mean, all throughout high school, I was planning to be a computer programmer. I mean, my next door neighbor, when we moved to Rialto, her son owned a computer repair company. So she knew my interest. And so she hooked me up with him. And so I worked there. So I was like 17, years old. I had to wear a shirt and tie to work. And he trained me on how to repair these IBM mainframe computers. You know, they're like tall, you know, the size of a file cabinet. And most of it entailed like cleaning it, you know, opening up and blowing dust out and cleaning the stuff. And so he would train me on how to do basic repairs, and I would maintain some of the contracts. So just like a pest control come to your house or something, I would go to these different accounts that he had. And it was pretty cool to be 17 right after I graduated, making $5 an hour, and people, and, you know, going in to service the computers and stuff. And everyone was really impressed that this kid, you know, so I really was on a good track, you know, if I was going to continue that path. But
excuse me real quick, Billy.
Yeah.
Let me bring people up to speed. $5 back then was like $15 or $16 right now. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
so it wasn't just some hamburger money.
It was
inflation.
Minimum wage was probably still like $3.35 or something like that, you know. So it was, you know, it was a little extra. You know, I was able to get me a little car, qualified to get a little car, get a little Hyundai, you know, based on that. But it was, you know, I don't know. I always felt like I knew exactly what I was trying to do, and I always had a plan. So even at the point, you know, when I was deciding if I was going to switch majors or not, part of my this process was just coming up with the plan. And so at the point that I made the change, like my third year, you know, my third year, like halfway through, I made the change. And at that point, I was like, same program. When I was on the computer program, I had a little internship job situation, and that was, so I'm like, now it's journalism. So now get a job. I need a job in the field of journalism. So my advisor, my mentor in Black Student Union at Cal State San Bernardino, her family owned a community newspaper, the Black Voice News. And so I was like, hey, I'm trying to learn these skills. So she let me work there, which is dope. And so this was like January 1990. I started working there as a production assistant. At the same time, I started doing a radio show at, you know, Cal State San Bernardino's radio station, KSSB. And so I was just going hard. You know, I was like, okay, I'm gonna get the radio thing going. I'm taking my communications classes. I'm working at the community newspaper. And ironically, one of my deans, well, he wasn't my dean, but one of the advisors for Black Student Union. I was a Black Student Union president for 2 years. But one of the advisors on one of the Black faculty members in another area, once he found out what I was interested in, he's like, Billy, I'm from New York. I used to teach at NYU. You ever heard of Word Up magazine? I said, yeah. He said, one of my former students is the editor in chief. He's like, you want me to hook you up with her? And I was like, okay, well, yeah, but I'm not ready. I'm just learning, you know, I'm still, you know, I'm in the beginning, like, give me some time to get experience. So like I spent a year, like, you know, start writing stuff for the Black Voice News. And after I felt comfortable, like, okay, I have a couple articles that I really liked, I thought would be good enough for me to send the word up. I went back to him. I was like, okay, I'm ready. And so this was like 1992. And I sent her a letter. I was so professional with how I presented myself, you know, like my resume was tight. All of my articles were like, you know, it wasn't like torn up. Like I cut them and made it look perfect, made photocopies at Kinko's and this, that, and other. And I sent her my little letter. Dean Bonet referred me to you. And, you know, I'm working here. Here are some things that I've written. As a matter of fact, I'm about to interview this person. Can I do something for you? And she wrote me back with like, she called me and was like, hey, would you like to write a column? Would you like to write the Southern California music column? You know, like that was my introduction. Well, there was a family of publications. There was Word Up, there was the Best of Rap and R&B and Rap Masters. And so I think this was for the Best of Rap and R&B. And it was just like that. I was in there, you know, like she gave me an assignment. I did my little regional roundup. And but I was hustling, man, like, because I was what I was doing at the Black Voice News. While I was still in college, I started, the paper would get they would get CDs and stuff. And so I just start
real quick, Billy.
I know, I'm sorry.
No. I just have to insert little things so people understand. This was before social media, so it wasn't as easy as DMing somebody or just being able to reach out and touch somebody, you had to know somebody who knew somebody who knew somebody that could set up something, coordinate the time, put the stuff together and like really make it work. So as you're telling us this compelling riveting story, as you're telling us this riveting story, it is not as easy as sliding into somebody's DM or sliding into their manager's DM or anything like that. This is like, this isn't no biting one for the pooch. This isn't this isn't some, you've just been given some stuff. Like, you truly worked and earned the place to be where you are. So you continue, but I just didn't want people, I wanted people to understand that we're not talking about social media days. We're not talking about, like, this is when email was new.
Yeah. There was, I mean, and I know I've become one of those people back, one of those back in my day people, which I know people hate. And, all of us from, a time before, there was a different process for getting things done. But when I talk to people today, if they say they want to do certain things, I'm thinking about all the resources that are available to them that are free. And I feel like if you're not utilizing those, then, to me, that kind of lets me know how interested and how passionate you are about the things, because certain things are just too easy to do. You know what I mean? So like I could have, if I didn't have the job at the community newspaper, I guess I could have been writing up a newsletter with a typewriter or something. But my point is, you just have to take advantage of what is available to you and make it happen. But yeah, I definitely was hustling. You had to call people. There was at this time in the early 90s, there was no communicating. I mean, at college there was an email system, but I could email maybe other students at other colleges, and that was only through my computer science class. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't a way to communicate with people at the time. So yeah, it was definitely very, very old school. So I just pretty much hit the ground running, and a lot of people, were really nice. A lot of people at the record labels, I was figuring it out. Like, I learned based on a couple press releases and CDs that I received, I figured out like, okay, so I think Arista Records was one of the record companies I would send stuff there. So I got a press release and I saw, okay, here's the contact for TLC. They're on this label, LaFace is in Atlanta or whatever. And then I start doing the math. So if I was interested in a particular artist that I want to interview, I would like look at their CD or vinyl and see where the record company was. And then I get on the phone and call information, get the telephone number. The lady who answered the phone, I would say like, hi, can I speak to I didn't even know it was called publicity department. I would say, can you connect me to the department that sets up interviews with artists, And then I would be like, hi, my name is Billy. I'm entertainment editor for the Black Voice News. I like to interview someone. They're like, send me a letter, send me a copy of your things that you've written for the newspaper. And I would do whatever they said. And that's how I met people. And so even though it was a small newspaper, I don't know, people would just like me and gave me an opportunity, and I just ran with it. And then I would take that. So I would start doing interviews like every week or so for the community newspaper, getting a flood of CDs. And then I would start, when I was pitching The Source and Word Up and Hype Hair and all these places, I would write them and I would say, I'm about to interview Too Short. I'm about to interview SWV. I'm about to interview A Tribe Called Quest. I'm about to interview Johnny Gill. Would you like an article on them? And I think what I was doing, sometimes Word Up would take some of those stories. Some of the other places didn't, but I think what I was doing was at least showing them that I was really, I was really out there moving, you know what I mean? Like, I was making this like, who's this guy? He's from this small town. Never heard of that paper, but like, this dude is getting access to stuff. And so this started while I was in college. And so that was definitely, it made me feel good. And some of my friends, and, some of my other journalism friends, they're like, what are you, a music journalist? What kind of job, what kind of job is that? Like, that wasn't one of the career paths they talked about in our journalism classes. So, it was weird. It was just like I created, a dream for myself and just said, go for it.
So, a dream, you had a dream, used to write for Word Up magazine.
Yeah, right.
Salt and Pepper and Heavy D was probably in the limousine.
Yeah.
Hanging Snoop Dogg's picture on your wall. Let me guess, every Saturday.
Mr. Magic Marley Marl.
Oh my God. You know what I like the most? I like the fact that Word Up was like, hey, look, we would love to hire you. Like, hold on, not yet.
Well, that was, I mean, the introduction had not happened. Well, the thing is, I didn't want to embarrass myself, like I didn't want, yeah. I mean, although when I think about it, I'm still like that today. Like I kind of take it slow. I want to be best prepared. I'm most confident when I'm best prepared. And that's all I was thinking about. I wanted to put my best foot forward. But however, because my dean had a relationship with Kate Ferguson, I'm sure she still would have hooked me up in some way. But to me, I felt better that not only did I have a recommendation from him, I was able to back it up with some writing samples and stuff like that. It wasn't just that someone called like, for instance, someone asked me to write a letter of recommendation for them this past weekend. I already know the person's credentials, but I didn't have all the details. But I said, hey, send me this. I told them what to send me. Send me examples of your writing, send me this, send me your resume, send me your LinkedIn, because I don't want to look crazy. Like, how am I going to make a recommendation on his behalf if I, could not make specific references to why I felt he was qualified, so I didn't want to put somebody else in that position,
Mm-hmm. Who would you say is the most compelling person in group you've sat down with?
Most compelling, most compelling. Who would I say is the most compelling?
Like this pulled you in.
I was thinking about this, and I don't know why I'm spacing on this right now. I don't know. I mean, maybe Quincy Jones, because
That's a great one.
One of the Black Music Month specials, I was doing for Yahoo. This was right when they did We Are the World again. They had done it again. This is around that time, and so I had really been going in trying to get an interview with him for that. And that didn't work out, but I had known his publicist, but was really able to establish a rapport with him over this time. And then he just came out of nowhere. This was a couple months after We Are the World was done again. He said, Billy, do you want to interview Quincy for your Black Music Month thing? And I was just like, whoa. And so so Quincy Jones insisted that we come to his house, to do the interview. And before we did the interview, this is weird because, for the most part, the higher caliber, the person, the kind of less uncomfortable it could be sometimes because there's a time crunch. I mean, the time I interviewed Run DMC, it's like, it was like, okay, you have this little window to get everything done, and so that makes me feel really pressured. So to get to Quincy Jones's house, and I'm like ready. I'm like, okay, it's Quincy Jones. Like we had to get ready to knock it out. And he's like, oh, sit down. Who are you guys? Pleasure to meet you. And hey, let me tell you about this. And he was just telling us all these stories. And what I really liked, this was even before the interview. So this had to be about 10 years ago, but he was so, I couldn't believe how up to date and current he was on everything, So at the time, Black Eyed Peas was really hot. And so he was not only just telling me about Black Eyed Peas, but he was telling me about the, like will.i.am's production style and the kind of equipment and technology he used and this, that, and the other. And he could just go on for days and days. And then when he was reflecting on his own history, he remembered these stories just with such vivid detail. It was really shocking. I honestly, I don't think I ever met another person who impressed me the most in terms of, just how alert and fluid they were and just able to recite so much information and with a passion and excitement as if, had just happened. And so, I mean, of course, I was in awe the whole time to be there, but he just definitely couldn't have been a nicer person. And, to open his home, it was like a back house or something, like a theater room, but it was definitely, I would definitely say that was a major.
It was on the property.
Yeah. It was on. Yeah. With the gated Bel Air community and all that kind of stuff. I was just like, damn, it was definitely one of those moments of like, dang, this, this little dude from Inglewood, like, this is crazy. I've known, his son QD3 for a long time and stuff like that. But that was great.
So tell me this, how did you end up writing your first source article?
The first source article, so back when I was getting started, I was telling those stories. I was hitting up the source. Reginald Dennis had sent me a letter, responding to, the things that I had sent. And he just basically said, yeah, I'm checking you out, we'll see, kind of thing. I'd never got any work there. And around, late 1994, I got a job as a managing editor of Rap Sheet. And at the point that I started working at Rap Sheet, all my freelancing for hip hop magazine stopped because that was a conflict of interest. So at that point, I had to stop pursuing the source. So, but I was, one of my strategic moments when I left Rap Sheet, and I was thinking about what I was going to do next. I thought it would be good if I got myself in one situation, which we'll talk about, but a situation would afford me the opportunity to now be able to freelance, for other hip hop publications. And so as soon as I left Rap Sheet, at the top of the list was the source. So I'd actually had interviewed with them for a job. And then, was able to really make a connection with Selwyn Hines, who was editor in chief at the time. And so off the bat, my first thing for the source this was in 1998, was how many words was it? I feel like it was 1,500 word piece on Mac 10. So it was just dope. It was just dope to just walk in the door as a freelancer so I had my other full-time job situation, which is one of the best, situations I was able to arrange for myself. But to my first thing for the source. So at this point, it was probably 1998 from 1992. It was like 6 years prior, I had been trying to write for them. And so, it took 6 years, but this first opportunity was a major feature for Mac 10. And in the time that I, wrote for the source, it was off and on for a period of maybe 8 years, but they gave me great stories. They gave me, Snoop Dogg, Black Eyed Peas, Jurassic 5, a review Bone Thugs and Harmony, Nelly's first album, Lil Wayne's first album, like they gave me some really Nate Dogg, Warren G, they gave me some good stuff. Some good stuff. Too Short when we came out with the hyphy hyphy stuff, that was definitely dope. So yeah, I have some great clips from the source.
Yeah. What would you say are the fundamentals to journalism?
The fundamentals to journalism are, just definitely being just of course being able to tell the story. I know what the story is. You need to know, have a good understanding of what story is you're trying to tell before you start. So you even know what direction to move in terms of what questions you're going to ask and so forth, even though it can change, as you do research. My position is I should be open. I can't go in there with a closed mind. I mean, I go in there, but then, the more research I do, if I receive information that, enlightens me, I should be willing, to consider that, and
Can I comment on that real quick?
Yeah.
Just because I seen a news article that came out yesterday that the director of the Tekashi 6ix9ine documentary said he was a horrible human. Like he said, like the more he learned about him, the more he was disgusted by him, and he didn't even meet him. Like he knows, like the documentary wasn't directly on him. I mean, what it's just funny. We're talking about this, and you bring that up. Like, is that still like honorable in journalism to like study somebody that you just don't like, or that's like okay?
It's weird because it's like. I mean, that's the thing that I don't think people necessarily consider. Like when you're working someplace as a journalist, it's no different than if you're working at any other job. Like if you are in the maintenance department and somebody throws up in the bathroom, you know what I mean? You don't have the luxury to be like, hey, I'm not doing that. It's like that. It comes with the job. And so everything that you are writing about isn't, something that you're most passionate about, even in entertainment. And so, but I just feel like you should be objective. I don't think you should take a bias into a situation. I still think you should, do your best job. considering the readers, the audience first, and still considered to be objective. But yeah, but I would say though, there have been times when I did have the opportunity, the opportunity, if there was something that I didn't want to do and someone else could do it as an editor, that was cool. Cause I would go like, we need to cover this story. I'm going to have someone else write it. And there have been times where I was offered to write a story as a freelance writer, and I go, you know what, that's not really my thing. But it depends. But if you sign up to be the producer of the Tekashi 6ix9ine documentary, you could just quit. You know what I mean? But I mean, I don't know. I feel like,
if somebody came to you, Billy, and said, Billy Johnson Jr., you work for Yahoo. We know your repertoire. We need you to take this on. Would you be able to do it without blinking an eye?
You mean, what are you talking about? It's anything in particular or just in general?
No, Tekashi 6ix9ine.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's I mean, it's weird because now since I left Yahoo and I started a PR company and I still do some journalistic things, now I'm way more selective,
Okay.
I definitely felt like when I was at Yahoo, especially being the lone, hip hop R&B guy, if there was something major and there was an opportunity to cover it, I felt like, okay, it was my obligation to make sure, that it was, if it was of a certain level of significance. But considering, how he is, I think it's okay to have taken a pass on that because, he's not respected, in the industry, and, like you would interview him and not even know if he's going to tell the truth and stuff like that. Like, what's the purpose? You know what I mean? I feel like at a certain point, you're just kind of feeding the wild animal.
Right.
I'm going to tell you something that's a trip. That question that I asked, it wasn't part of the questions that I had sorted out to ask you for the night, but it's a trip because a lot of people will no integrity. You know what I'm saying? I'm just gonna lunge at this. We're gonna see where it goes or whatever. But it's like, I get it when people will pass on something that may seem like some temporary momentum or something that's just very temporary because they feel like, man, once this burns out, then what's next?
Yeah. Well, my best, that this comes up a lot, right? As a journalist. And I told this story before, but it's important that in this context, like Entertainment Weekly was one of the places that I wanted to write for the most when I was, in college and things like that. And when I was at Rap Sheet, I met one of the West Coast bureau chief at an event. And I gave him my card and I said, hey, great to meet you. Ironically, a writer that I used, he also used. So he was familiar with the name of the publication, Rap Sheet, because of this writer. And so he kept my card, and 6 months later, Tupac died. And I had never reached out to him, but this guy, Cable Newhouse, called me and he said, hey, Billy, do you remember meeting me 6 months ago? And it's just sort of like, I was like, just couldn't believe that this guy was calling me. So he said, Tupac died and we need some help covering this story. And I said, what are you looking for? And he said, what do you mean? I said, well, if you're looking for somebody to say he lived by the sword and died by the sword, I'm not interested. So that I felt like that was integrity. So here was like, for me at the time, that was the biggest publication that I could dream of wanting to work for. And here they are contacting me, but what was happening with the East Coast, West Coast stuff? I mean, you just saw this thing, come up. I mean, you saw it leading in this direction. You were hoping that it wouldn't have resulted in Tupac dying, but then he died. And then you consider the role that the media played in it. You consider the terrible way that mainstream media covered it because they didn't understand. And so here's someone, from the biggest entertainment magazine calling me, asking me, telling me they need help. And I just didn't feel that I could trust, I could trust, being involved with something like that. And I just took it very seriously. Fortunately, this dude said, what should we do? What should we do? And I said, okay, we need to find people who either knew Tupac or know enough about hip hop where they could put it in the proper context, how he got into all this trouble and how we got here, And so he said, okay, can you interview some people, some industry insiders who could tell this story? And I said, oh, heck yeah. That's what I do. And he said, okay. And so I must have got about 10 interviews and turned in like 20 pages of interview transcripts, with people talking about it. And in that group was Yo-Yo and Ice Cube and a couple Big John Platt, there were four different people. And they all said great things that they ended up using in their article. So it was a cover story. It was like 5,000 words. And a quote that I have from Ice Cube was like the last quote in the article. And Ice Cube said something like, hip hop didn't kill Tupac, a bullet did. And that just made me feel good, that I was glad that I had that conversation, with this editor, about how I thought, what perspective I thought they needed to include in their story. And that just made me feel good. And it made me want to work for a mainstream outlet. Cause I was like, this is out of control, like the way these stories get told, cause you would read the articles and you would go, whoever wrote this is on some BS. You know what I mean? Like they clearly don't know the culture. They clearly don't care. They don't care about Black people. They're saying stuff that's just perpetuating, negativity and stuff like that. And so I wanted to help, I wanted to do my part in correcting the way that our stories were being told, to the masses.
I think that brings the next question is kind of interesting. What are your thoughts on rappers calling like rap, let's say hip hop, street journalism?
Well, I mean, I feel that's accurate. I always looked at it that way. I know, was it Chuck D to, kind of described it as CNN, I feel that way. The thing is, sometimes you don't know who's telling the truth, who's embellishing it. But then you also have certain, you have people who say, I live this lifestyle. And then you say I'm telling other people's stories and stuff like that. I understand. I mean, I've heard people compare it to movies and other genres where, people are telling stories. There's fiction. I don't know. I don't really have a problem with it if it's in the proper context. If you're not really a gangster, you can tell the stories, but don't act like that's who you are when you're off camera. I feel like that's where the confusion comes in. But, I think we definitely need people to tell, document what's really happening. And music is the way that young people are consuming a lot of it. So it makes sense to me.
That's why I look at the WAP video as like a documentary, actually. That's why it's great journalism. They explain exactly, beat it up, nigga, catch a charge. I mean, it's like I'm here.
It actually definitely documents a lot.
Macaroni in a pot. Street journalism.
I mean, there are a lot of people, a lot of women were happy, to have other women, speak on their behalf and so forth. So, okay. I mean, as a fan of Lil' Kim and stuff like that, I actually like Cardi B and Megan. I'm not mad at them. So it is what it is. I'm really about balance. So, like Kim Rhapsody get more love, like just like, let's just have a balance.
Quick question, Billy. You work for Yahoo now we don't really look at Yahoo as popping because so many other companies have popped up and they've come into the space. And when you think internet, you think Google and you only think Google. But once upon a time, Google and Yahoo weren't too far apart, man. Once upon a time. What was your pathway to becoming, was it senior editor? Senior music editor at Yahoo. And I'm talking about, for people that's looking at it right now, he would have been senior music editor for Google. What was the pathway?
Well, when I left Rap Sheet in 1998, at that point I had 8 years experience, working and, working as a journalist. And, I definitely had 6 strong years of like interviewing, pretty much anyone who was hot that I wanted to interview. Either I interviewed them or I had a writer for Rap Sheet interview them. So the Fugees, Bone Thugs and Harmony, I mean, I don't know, whoever was huge. Outkast, Snoop Dogg, the list goes on. And so when I was ready to leave Rap Sheet, I literally quit before I had a job. Because it was just one of those things like, okay, I've been here, this is cool. I'm ready to do the next thing. And literally I quit on a Monday, and on Tuesday when I came to work, the first person I called was Elisa Jefferson at Elektra Records. And I said, yo, hey, can I set up an interview with Yo-Yo? And I said, and after we scheduled that, I said, by the way, this is my last issue of Rap Sheet. I quit on Friday. And she said, you know what? That's weird. Yesterday, a guy from Launch, which is the precursor to Yahoo, a guy from Launch called yesterday and said they just created a position for a rap and R&B editor. And he asked us for a recommendation. And we said, there's this guy named Billy who works at Rap Sheet, but he loves his job too much. I don't think you can get him to leave. And I said, he called you when? They said yesterday. I said, that's the same day I gave notice without a job. I mean, I don't know how to explain this book guide, right? And not so Launch became Yahoo Music, but it was a interactive CD-ROM and a website. The interactive CD-ROM was out of the world. It was imagining interviewing celebrities in like a virtual reality thing, and they would play it back, and you click on a button, and then you get the playback of the answer and stuff. But I had wanted to go more mainstream. And with my computer science interest early on, when the internet started to pop, I knew, okay, like I had the aptitude for that. I wanted to go into the internet. So that was it. So anyhow, I called Dave D. Martino, who's the executive editor for Launch. He said, people keep referring me to you. Your name keeps coming up. And I was like, what? Because nobody told me. No one had told me. If I wouldn't have quit and mentioned it to someone, maybe no one would ever told me. So I got an interview with him, and they hired me on the spot. And when I walked into that job, the beautiful thing is that they had these content partnerships with, this is one of the reasons why they hired me. They have content partnerships with Yahoo, with AOL, with MSN, with NBC. So they didn't have a rap and R&B editor. So they're like, who is A-Ball and MJG? Who's Foxy Brown? Like, who are these people who are like debuting at #1 on the charts? They're just like, who are these people? And I was like, well, and they were like, do you know who these people are before they debut at #1? And I was like, yeah, and I know their representatives and stuff. And so they hired me to make sure that we had coverage of these places, and the coverage was syndicated to Yahoo, to AOL. So I walked in the door, like with my work now, being, filtered to all these other outlets. So within 2 years, Yahoo just said, they just bought Launch, and it became Yahoo Music. And it was really a great time. And, when Yahoo Music was the #1, online music destination, at that time, that was like 25 million uniques a month. Like I was the urban guy, so when it was Eminem, who we discovered at the Rap Sheet conference, when it was Eminem or 50 Cent or Kanye West or whatever, like all that was just like, that was Billy's lane. And so, I just, had first dibs, and I definitely enjoyed that, like not having to arm wrestle with anyone, like who's going to get to do that interview. That all that just came to me. But the beautiful thing is that before YouTube, Yahoo Music was, had the #1. It was where you went to watch music videos. In fact, if you go on YouTube and find old music videos, like let's say Brandy's I Want to Be Down remix, the version of that you find on YouTube has got the Yahoo logo, because, Yahoo was the official place, like someone stripped it and, re-uploaded it, but Yahoo was the legitimate place where you get to watch the music videos. You know, we had a very popular Launchcast radio platform before Spotify, you know, that, you know, was the number one, you know, internet radio platform. And so, you know, we were first on a lot of things and just reaching a lot of people. And, you know, we're for one of the first, you know, on Chris Brown, to the point that, you know, his manager had called someone at Def Jam that I was dealing with, you know, had seen Chris Brown's manager, like when Running was out, and was like, those people at Yahoo, they're really, you know, they're early supporters. And, you know, she called just to say thank you, you know, and stuff like that. So, you know, it really was a great time. You know, it really was a great, compelling, exciting time just to be a part of that. And I feel like with certain things, I've been really good at being able to kind of see where things are going. So to see where things are today, you know, it's definitely, you know, definitely very, very cool. Like in 1996, I wanted to work online. So it's just crazy to think. I didn't think that magazines would like just be, you know, would take such a back seat to online the way that it has. But I mean, I definitely knew that I wanted to be a part of online.
Mm-hmm. What do you say your favorite topic to cover? But let me be more specific. Like, you know, obviously, well, I say probably hip hop, right? But like, what is the consistent thing that you dig into whenever you like have a subject?
Well, it started becoming like buzzy moments, you know, hot topics, trending topics and that kind of thing. So, I mean, I am interested, you know, in pop culture and stuff like that, but I didn't necessarily want to be covering that. I like introspective stories. So, you know, when I'm learning about someone, you know, I want to find, you know, something, you know, really, I want to humanize them, you know, like I want people to listen to my interview and really walk away feeling like they know them more so on a personal level in a relatable way. So I'm always looking, you know, I'm always looking for that. And so, you know, that I feel like that's as much as possible, you know, that would always be a part, you know, like I'm always going to ask the questions that I know I have to ask because everyone wants to know, you know, but if I have more time, like I really want to get to the heart of who the person is. You know?
Dope. It's crazy. I'm gonna throw this in here before we're gonna wrap it up in a sec, but I'm gonna throw this in here. It's a trip, Billy. When I meet people and I connect with them on a personal level, like Jeremy's on the show, but I talk to him off of the show sometimes. Like, and before we did the show, I talked to him. Like I when Jeremy told me he was a comedian, before I heard he probably hates when I say this, before I heard any jokes, I knew from the interaction we had, I was like, dude, it's gonna be some, what he's doing is gonna go to a level where other people are gonna understand what I'm experiencing just interacting with this dude right now. Mm-hmm. With you, dude, when I know, for whatever reason, when I connect with people that's beyond something casual, because I talk to you beyond the little business stuff that other stuff we do in and out or whatever, I communicate with you. I communicate with people that I feel that are at the top of their game, man. Like really, and I communicate with people that are tapped into their frequency. Like they know what their frequency is, and it's just a matter of everything else understanding and vibrating to the level of where these people are. But dude, that, like, man, the story definitely riveting, man. Definitely.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. I feel what you're saying, and you are a telephone person more so than a email person and texter, and that is dope because really, you know, it's really hard. That's one of the challenges today. It's not the same trying to establish a rapport and getting to know someone over the course of emailing, you know, or texting. You know, really takes the conversation, because every time I talk to you, man, we're catching up, we're talking about stuff. You've actually, you know, become a business coach, you know, for me in my venture, in entrepreneurship, and we just gotten to know each other, and it's really important. I as much as I am for the technology and stuff like that, I am for picking up the phone. And even during this time, I know people are all zoomed out, but I'm actually trying to do more Zoom interviews because it's just a reminder, like, man, you need to see people. You need to kind of see, their expressions when you say certain things or whatever. I just feel like it's a better connection.
Mm-hmm. What's the best advice you ever received?
The best advice, dang, man. I don't know. I mean, I'm gonna go, I guess, just to a scripture. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Like I was really, because like when I actually Dr. Fred Price passed away a couple of days ago when I was a teenager. From like 13 to 16. We were going to his church a lot, and I really got a lot. That was actually very helpful for me as a teenager, just having that spiritual foundation. I mean, I would go to church with my grandmother sometimes, but this was a point where I was really interested in doing it. I was rarely involved. My first job actually was at the church and stuff like that. But yeah, faith is, everything always falls back to faith, for me. So it's like, just, it is true. It starts in our mind. You can do whatever it is you set your mind to. And I am a shy person, but there's certain things, that I want. And I realize that if I'm going to accomplish it, I'm going to have to step out of the quote unquote comfort zone. And I've had a lot of those moments. There's a time I had to interview Suge Knight at the Vibe Awards when he attacked Dr. Well, no. Oh, Jesus. He didn't attack. He didn't, I don't.
Well, allegedly.
I'm not even going to say that. I'm just going to say that I was covering the Vibe Awards. I was working at Yahoo, but I was covering the Vibe Awards, and I was there. And something happened to Dr. Dre backstage, and Suge was there, and they're like, "Will you go interview Suge and ask him if he had anything to do with it?" And so like that was not a comfort zone moment for me. You know what I mean? But like I was like, "Hey, I said I was gonna do it. I'm here. Like." Figure it out, dude. How are you gonna go approach Suge and ask him the questions? And I mean, I did it. So, you can't. And each time you challenge, a roadblock, a fear, whatever, you are empowered. When you do that. So anyhow, yeah, all the time. I could do all things through Christ.
I'm so sorry. You just called Suge Knight a roadblock of fear. I just want to point that out. It wasn't like a metaphorical thing.
No.
It was like
you
called a person a roadblock. That's so real.
I mean, if I go back to that moment, like they're like, Billy, after hearing about what happened, and then someone walks up to you and say, Suge is here. Can you go talk to him? In that moment, when I tell that story, I go back to that moment. Yeah, roadblock, fear, whatever else you want to call it, insurrection. I don't care. I was like, I was like, okay, that's exactly what it was. It wasn't like, any other situation where there's more time to like think about it and prepare. It was in the moment, and I had to decide if I was going to do it, and I didn't have time to like collect myself to the point that I would have wanted to. It's like, you got to do it now. You know what I mean? And so, it was, that's funny.
We got a question from the comic section. What marketing avenue did you notice that is not taken advantage of or used correctly via social media?
I know people say, you got to be careful. And I was reminded of this recently, you can't do all self-promotion, you need to engage people more. You can't just keep posting your own stuff, all the time. But I would say just in terms of networking, you can use social media for networking. I actually have been getting better at it in seeing people's conversations and just being a part of the conversation. I mean, it might be about a TV show, it might be about music, it might be about something random, but if I feel like I have something to contribute to the conversation, I'll just engage, just join the conversation. And it actually has helped me formulate relationships with people that have translated into, working together, business wise. But in each of these instances, it has been authentic. Like I'm not talking to someone, just trying to insert myself in a conversation where I have no opinion on it or something like that. But yeah, I think there should be more, there's got to be more engagement, even whether you know someone or not, like it's, like you can't, it is actually a great thing that we can talk to people, like we just have more access to people in different regions and everything, with social media. So I definitely think people should take advantage of it.
I just want to slide a little thing in there. I feel like the one thing that social media, I mean, obviously because they're different companies, might be like a real reason, but I feel like they should streamline the process of access. You know what I'm saying? Like Instagram is probably the most popular of these social media devices, whatever, and they only allow one link. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Like literally you can't link to anything, you know what I'm saying? So I'm just like, I would think if there was anything that needed to be innovated, there should be a one-stop shop where people can just buy you completely, but that might be, anti the other, Twitter and Instagram not gonna get along versus, whatever. But if it was just one-stop shop where you just click it and you can get like you buying merch, you buying this from the video or whatever,
Oh yeah. I see what you're saying. Yeah, I definitely hate that you can't post a link, it's just the link in the bio. And I know now people are creative with, the different, you can have multiple links in that, but still it's not a natural, process to like, you see something, you want to click. It's a bad user engagement experience to show someone something, they can't click on it right there. They have to go some other route, but that's why they have it set up that way. They know it's a deterrent for people to leave. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So with all that said, Billy, where do you see the progression of social interaction in the next 2 years?
I'm actually, I don't know, because where we are now, I'm kind of surprised by, growing up in the time that I was born in 1969. So, I was, I wasn't born to see all the marching and stuff that happened at the time. But this last year, even though it's been a terrible year and in so many different ways, I just have never seen so many people, come together. Even though there are a lot of people who, there's still a huge divide, but seeing so many people come together and support, the whole Black Lives Matter movement, and sometimes you watch some of these reports and stuff and you would see like it was Black people weren't even the majority, and the people who were out protesting. I just, honestly, I never thought that I would see that, not this soon. But still, half the people voted for Trump, you know what I mean? So, there's still that, there's still that group that, there's still that group of people there. But I do see people, I feel that people are feeling empowered, more people feel empowered to speak up. I feel more people, are listening, and I feel like the snowball is starting to roll. I have a client, who I have two tech clients, and they do a lot of diversity and inclusion work. And they were on the phone with a major computer magazine, and they were talking in two separate interviews, and they were just explaining, but listening to the editor of this mainstream, huge computer magazine, like really, who reached out and said, hey, can I talk to these two people for this article that we're doing, and seeing how attentive he was to what they were saying. I really do feel like we're in the midst of change. So I think it's going to get better. That doesn't mean that we're not going to have a lot of problems along the way. But I think like the people who are for what's right and what's fair and what's good, I feel that number is getting bigger. So actually I'm inspired. And I have twins who are 18. And so, paying attention to, their mindset, their friends' mindset, and seeing what the youth are doing. Also, we have attributed the youth to being taking a leadership role in a lot of the things that have happened in the past year. So I do feel encouraged,
Mm-hmm.
Nah, man. Well, that's dope. Closing out, what I will say about Billy, he's the manager's manager. Even though he doesn't take on a managerial role, he's the dude that I reach out to try to get my strategies together, and kind of as much as I can get for free. I get the beta version. I don't get the full version from him, but I get enough to point me in the direction. But
it's the other way around.
Nah, man. But anybody who's out there, if you're interested in public relations or a strategy, Billy is a great mind to pick. I can say that I've definitely picked his mind, and he's pointed me in some directions that have helped me to embellish relationships that I already had, and then new relationships, ways that I could go about them to get the desired result. So I just, man, I really got to just put that out there. So give them your socials, your social media stuff.
Yeah, thank you. So the two socials I like to give out, my personal one is at Billy Johnson Jr. across all platforms. And also for my company is called Media and Repertoire. But that's too long for the social media handle. So it's at Media Repertoire, and that's MEDIAREPERTOIRE. So yeah, thank you, man. I really appreciate this opportunity. It's great talking to you guys.
Jeremy, anything you got?
Yeah, you got one of those words that people got to Google in order to that's like the silhouette challenge. They was like, I want to do the silhouette. How you spell silhouette? Also, wet in there. There's a W somewhere.
Yeah,
repertoire.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, I was like, I learned how to spell it. Once I came up with the name, I was like, man, I don't care, tongue twister, whatever, I before E, what, But yeah, I love the name Media and Repertoire. Of course, pattern it after A&R. But yeah, just definitely. Having the relationship with my clients and the work and stuff like that. That's what's first priority. So it's dope.
Yeah, I'm Jeremy Comedy on IG, and what else is going on? You know what? That's good enough for now. Are you on Clubhouse?
Man, we can talk about Clubhouse. I'm on Clubhouse. I'll be in the corner.
All right, yeah, I'm on Clubhouse too. Jeremy Scipio, SCIPPIO.
Yeah, I'll follow you.
Yeah, I'm square as a pack of cigarettes, man. I don't even know what square Clubhouse is. You know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna holler at Billy tomorrow, and probably Jeremy the day after, and they're gonna speed me up to it. But man, please, if you peeping out the show and you need a social media, if you need a strategy on how to maneuver around what we got going right now, Billy's experience, not even because he's my homeboy, not even because I'm interviewing him right now, but I can just say, as a fact, he's definitely helped me write some letters. He's definitely helped take my thoughts and focus them in a way where I could get the desired result. So good looking out. Thank you guys for tuning in. Splendid Radio on PharcydeTV.
Yeah. Hey, thank you.
All right, man.